when I wake up. Set a reminder just to keep waking up. Without an alarm, I forget about dawn, then I won't wake up. What if I don't like waking up? The days, the weeks, the months just keep adding up. Every tick of a clock is another rock knocking on my window. The odd place on the other side is a daily 9 to 5 with a partner, some kids, a cup of coffee, and a complimentary free band. Oh, what do I want? And who puts up the front? And out, and out, and out. Do I make myself want to live? So I start my day, paralyzed by problems that won't go in. And every thought thrown at this roadblock brings back more disarray. I put my foot on the door. For a second I'm forgetting what I abhor. And then I recall the root of it all. Another joyless job. It's not the work that I don't wanna do. It just seems that I keep on burning through. A time in my life when I choose the device that decides the course of my life from today to the long night. What do I want? Who puts up the front? And out, and out, and out. Do I make myself want to live? Where will I go when I'm giving up all that I know? And why, and why, and why do I crave the unknown? Something needs to change. 'Cause if I go on with the day today, and my monotonous ways, and I'm gonna raise my soul. What do I want? And who puts up the front? And out, and out, and out. Do I make myself want to live? Where will I go when I'm giving up all that I know? And why, and why, and why do I crave the unknown? What do I want? And who puts up the front? And out, and out, and out. Do I make myself want to live? Where will I go when I'm giving up all that I know? And why, and why, and why do I crave the unknown?
So much for not doing host chatter.
Yeah, I know. And then I do it. I can't make up my mind, Ryan.
Yeah, well, how about I go ahead and introduce ourselves and our guests, and we can get this party started.
Go for it.
I'm Ryan. We're here with Jess and Janice tonight.
Hey.
Hi.
We've got some very special guests from Runaway Ricochet joining us tonight.
Yes, hello, hello. Um, my name's Eric Saxton. I play bass and sing in the band.
Hi, I'm Mason. I play baritone saxophone in the band.
Awesome. Thank you
And
for joining us.
where's it you guys are out of?
We're based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Well, and St. Paul. So, both sides of the Mississippi.
All right.
So,
Jess, I think you had some questions for him, didn't you?
give us a little bit of information about your background and how you got into a life of music. Was there like any one moment or band or album that you listened to and it just clicked that you were going to do something with music, or how did it work that way?
Mason, I don't know if I've heard your origin story. Why don't you start us off?
So how I got into music. Well, I played saxophone all through middle and high school. And my senior year of high school, I had just a really great band instructor. I was honestly planning on going to school for like, I don't know, some kind of engineering or architecture, something along those lines. But I had a really great band director who kind of just brought the best out of everybody in our various bands, and it got me excited for music. So I decided to go to school for music ed and got a degree in music ed and never used it. And then I moved up to Minneapolis to pursue a degree in audio engineering. And so that's actually how I met Eric and David, who was the previous guitar player in Runaway Ricochet. David was going to the same school that I was at, and he basically was just like, "Hey, do you want to be in my ska band?" And I was like, that's everybody's dream, right?" Like, it was
What you moved to Minneapolis for?
Yeah, exactly. So I was, back in senior year of high school, I had some friends. We dabbled around trying to do like, Streetlight and Real Big Fish covers, and so like I just like harkened back to those days. It was like, you know what, let's do it. And then it turned out that this music was way better.
Well, and then you quit the band.
I did actually. I did. So I was just super busy with school and work, trying to get everything done, and so I was initially just doing like, um, kind of just like fill-in gigs, or like every once in a while I would just sub in. Um, and then I was like, I was in the fold, and then I was just like, hey, it's too much. Um, and we did like a Pride video, like a COVID Pride video thing, right? Was that?
Well, okay, the timeline's foggy because we did this big show at the Hook and Ladder, um, that you played, and I don't remember if that was like your last show and then you left and then COVID hit,
Yeah.
or if you left in like 2019 when we were playing those like terrible dive bar gigs and you were like, not for me. And then you came back and then COVID hit. It's kind of foggy, but not important. Yeah, we did like this video shoot for the 2020 Minneapolis Pride, which was sick that they still like wanted to get bands involved. And uh yeah, then 2022, well, I guess 2021 and 2022 we were recording for Diminishing Returns. So you must have left sometime in 2019 and
I
then
think it was 2019. Well, because I started school in like uh, late 2018, and then I started playing, I think, early 2019, and then I think I played for, yeah, probably like half a year, and then I was like, yeah, I gotta
yeah,
study.
I
But
mean,
then, yeah,
it wasn't glamorous. We hadn't had our glow up yet.
that's
We were
true.
still
Yeah.
playing 18-year-olds music, not this refined 19 and 20-year-olds music. Um yeah, so I didn't really have a choice. Both my parents were musicians, and so they said, "You're gonna play music, dang it, and you're gonna like it." I said, "Okay." So I started taking piano lessons when I was like 5 or something. Um and my dad was a jazz musician, my mom was a classical musician, so it was always like one of those two musics in the house. We never listened to like top 40s or anything, so my knowledge of pop music was very limited. But my dad was a saxophone player, so was like, "You're gonna play the saxophone." I was kind of like, "I want to play percussion." He was like, "You're gonna play the saxophone," and I was like, "Okay." So I did that through school, like middle and high school, and like in ninth grade, I always kind of knew I wanted to be in a band from like playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater in first grade and being like, I like this lifestyle. I'm gonna be a skateboarder. And then I broke my first skateboard, and my parents were like, "Well, looks like you're done with that. You want to play music?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to be in a band." So, like high school came around, I was like, okay, I want to like really do this. What's the hardest instrument to find in a band? And everyone was like, bass. It's really hard to find bass players. And I said, okay, I'm gonna learn how to play bass. And then like, you know, flash forward, and Minneapolis is filled with all of like the best bass players
Yeah.
in the country. Like bass players are a dime a dozen up here, and everyone's got like their own unique styles. So like, you know, even though I do some crazy shit, someone else is doing some other crazy shit. And oh my God. But horn players, you cannot find enough of. Specifically trumpet players, but you know, we make do. Saxophone's cooler. So I play sax in like 4 or 5 bands, and then I just get to play bass in this one band that I write for. So um yeah, I don't know. That's an abbreviated music history
I
of
think
Saxton.
all those people were getting the same advice from the same person, all those bass players.
Perhaps. Yeah, it's like a whole like Gen Z or young millennial thing. Like who knows? Maybe Gen Alpha is gonna be all trumpet players because or like all horns. And they're gonna like completely miss the whole swing revival thing we're about to go through. It's like I imagine music is like fashion, like every 30 years it kind of cycles through. So we're probably on the cusp of another Zoot Suit riot of this
Yeah,
day
I
and
don't know.
age.
I take my kid to drum lessons, and it seems like everyone that walks in is a drummer. So
Yeah, I mean, not as bad as being a guitar player, honestly.
Yeah, you can't beat guitar. That's a flooded market for sure.
so coming up as musicians, you must have had some challenges. Going thinking of what you know now, what would you have told your younger self that maybe somebody that is trying to get into music now could grow from or learn
Oh,
from?
yeah, that's pretty easy for me. Get a real degree and actually just take lessons and play in the ensembles. That would be my super easy advice for anybody who wants to actually like pursue music in like a higher education fashion. Like just do something like I don't know, that's not studying music and just do the music as like the thing after you're done with your school. So, I don't know. That's what I would say.
Take some electives.
Yeah.
I would say don't go to college, get a fake ID and start playing in 21 plus clubs. Get your get no, okay. Uh
Good
I
advice.
will say I feel like my youth would have been way easier if I would have just gotten a fake ID because I started playing bars when I was 16, and like I would get harassed by so many bouncers. I'm like, I just want to play music. I really didn't underage drink at all, but it would have been way easier with that, just like for the peace of mind. Because I had facial hair at like 16. I could have done it. But I don't know, like I would say that practice what you want to practice if you want to get good. Like, sure, doing scales and exercises and like learning from a book is good, but if you practice stuff that you actually are invested in practicing, like for uh, for bass as opposed to saxophone and piano, where it was like more classical training, I just learned songs that I listened to that I wanted to like play along with, and I really liked doing that. So I would do it for like an hour plus a day, like every day of the week, and you get good just by playing. And as long as you continue to like playing, you'll want to do it all the time. So it's just kind of like a positive feedback loop, I suppose.
Keep it fun. Don't make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be work in like 10 years. So like enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got instructions like that when I started, and it seemed like a lot of work. And I still play no instrument to this day. So,
Kudos.
yeah.
Yeah,
One of
you're
these days.
living the high life there.
Yeah.
I'm
I
past
do have a keyboard sitting next to me collecting dust, if that counts for anything.
Ooh, I got a nice keyboard table that has all sorts of shirts and little knickknacks on it. Mason, do you have a keyboard or a like MIDI controller at home that just collects
Yeah,
things?
yeah, I do.
All right, well, I'm in good company then.
Yeah. Do either of you play any instruments?
Nope. I have every instrument in my house because my kid likes to play everything. He actually could probably do his own little one-man band. He mixes stuff on his own on GarageBand and stuff.
Sweet.
Oh, but no, I have never played anything. I'm living through him.
Yeah, that's great that you have a musically positive environment.
Yes, agreed.
I'm
So how do
trying
you
to
guys
learn the
guys-
ukulele.
Nice.
Oh, are you?
Yes. It's hard. It's so tiny.
It's
It
so
is. But it's so portable.
It is. And adorable. I love it.
hmm
That's what she said 3 times? Sorry.
Aw.
Okay.
So how did you guys' love of music turn into a love of ska? Like going from classical and jazz house to, was it Tony Hawk that did it for you, Saxton?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to jazz and classical, which is great, don't get me wrong, but then I heard like System of a Down and Goldfinger, and I was like, this shit rocks. Give me more of that. I was yeah, most of my elementary school, like once I discovered System of a Down and Rise Against, those were like my mains. And then oh, the Digimon movie, a modern classic with Less Than Jake and Mighty Mighty Boss Stones in it. As well as Bare Naked Ladies, which is another like early influence for me, I would say, or rather uh sorry, I'm getting lost in thoughts. But yeah, those things when I was in like 7th grade, I remember having this epiphany where like, whoa, I can use the internet to look up the soundtracks to those things that I used to love so much and then actually find out what this music is. And I discovered what ska actually was, and then I went to buy all of the stuff on iTunes because that's what you did back in the day.
What about you?
Mason, what did you was it Streetlight for you?
Yeah, it was probably Streetlight for me. Back in high school, like I actually never really was like I played all the Tony Hawk games and I liked the songs enough, but I was never like, oh, like I didn't have that like moment with it. I was just kind of I also skateboarded, so I was more kind of focused on the like the skateboarding and not necessarily the soundtrack. But um yeah, no, it's probably in high school when I had a couple buddies show me Somewhere in the Between. Actually, no, it was Everything Goes Numb was the first like ska album that I heard. And so at that point I was, I mean, like I think they were a four-piece, like the four horns at that point, and now they've got five horns, and it's just like the arrangement of those tunes. Um, I mean, obviously it's ska, but it also, I mean, there's so many other influences that like kind of meld into that band that it's like it just got me like thinking about stuff different. I think because it was like one of the first bands that I was like, oh my god, you could do that, like. So yeah, it's probably Streetlight for sure. That like kind of got me into the scene a little bit, and then after that, it was just kind of like a couple buddies that are like, what if we just like start learning a couple of these songs and goofing off with them? So never really got any kind of ska band off the ground. Like we tried in college a little bit, but yeah, until I moved to Minneapolis, it was just kind of one of those like pipe dream things, or like one of those just like we tried and we're moving on. But yeah, it was for sure Streetlight that got me into it. So
Yeah, a little fun fact for the one semester that I went to a music college. Uh, it was like a modern music school in St. Paul called McNally Smith, and I learned and like transcribed a Streetlight Manifesto song for my audition. that nailed me a scholarship. So those academia says that those bass lines fuck.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Feel like Streetlight's one of those bands where you love them or you hate them. I know some people that are like really hardcore, like they run fan groups, they'll travel the country around them, and then that same group, friend group, no, at their catch 23, they will never see a Streetlight show ever. Like
Wild.
I don't hate Streetlight, but I much prefer Catch 22.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, so if for our question for the three of you, if you lived in Minneapolis, the only way you can ever see Streetlight Manifesto is going to Chicago. They never come this far north, like many
Never.
bands. So I want to know, would each of you drive 6 hours to Chicago to see Streetlight Manifesto?
negative.
Yep.
All
Probably
right.
not.
I would do
One
it
yes
for
and
Catch
2 no's.
22.
Okay, but there's a train. You can take a train there. You
That's
don't have
true.
to drive.
It's longer than 6 hours though.
I want to travel to see them. I have traveled and seen them because I traveled to see other bands and they were playing the same show, but no, I want to travel to see Streetlight.
To be
I'll
fair,
run
they're
it.
kind of new to me.
I don't hate
I only saw Streetlight Manifesto for the first time this year. I'm just getting into them. Somehow I just never started listening. So I like them a lot, but I'm still kind of in the early stages of fandom. I haven't hit like crazy fangirl yet. So
What a beautiful time to
Yeah,
just be discovering Streetlight for the first time. I
true.
envy
There's
you.
so much to dig into.
there really
Yeah.
is. It's a little overwhelming.
and they've been promising a new album for a really long time.
Yeah, their trumpet player just passed last year.
I know. I saw him play at Four Chord. What was it? It was last year, 2023, right before he passed.
Wow.
It was a great set. They're really talented.
Oh yeah. Yeah, their arrangements are phenomenal. Like it's crazy.
Really, really, really big circle bits.
Yeah.
like the entire floor.
Yeah, seriously.
That's goals right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good time.
But yeah, I kind of feel like all this makes up like a community, almost like a ska community. We kind of talk about that a lot on Skagazine. Do you guys feel like you have one over in Minnesota?
I think that we've cultivated one over the years. So we started, I started writing for this band 8 years ago by this point. Wrote the first song in March of 2016. So yeah, coming up on 8 years. But started actually playing shows in, what would it have been? I think our first show was October of 2017. We played at this all ages venue called The Garage with Space Monkey Mafia and the Wicked Bees from Fargo, who have like been on and off for the last 10 years. Biggest will they, won't they of Fargo local music. Yeah, like it was like us and Space Monkey Mafia. One of our first shows we ended up playing together, and then the Von Tramps started around that time as well. And the three of us have like all kind of grown in different directions, which is really interesting to see. Space Monkey Mafia for a bit was doing like the smaller markets around Minnesota. Like, every state has a big city, and then they have all these little college towns throughout, or like towns that used to have really big trades or like access to a river and kind of grew from that. That aren't like a major market, but you can definitely still play a bar there and play for like 3 hours. So they did that thing, grew a following. The Von Tramps, I guess I've been the least involved with, so I don't really know, but they're doing their more like pop punk stuff and got signed to a label that way. And Runaway has been like kind of taking like more of the DIY punk angle for a little bit, or like sticking mainly around Minneapolis. But through the three bands growing, we've definitely cultivated a ska scene, or like more so a scene of people that enjoy each other. Like I don't think that there's really a majority of that group that like ska is their thing that they love, but they know how energetic these live shows are, and they love that part of it. They want to like be at that venue dancing with all of their friends, having a great time. And like there have been other ska bands that have come and gone over the years, but like I would say like the three of us have been like kind of the pillars that took it over from like Umbrella Bed or Rocksteady Breakfast that existed kind of before we took the scene, but like their audience is of an older demographic and we're like the young bloods. Is that, can I say that?
Yes.
I don't see why not.
Mason,
we have a lot of quick
how would
questions.
you describe it from coming into it like kind of halfway through that arc that I just described, or like seeing it in the post-pandemic?
I would say there are, I mean, there's a decent amount of ska band. Like, you know, we've got like the Prize Fighters are around. We've got a couple newer groups too that have started. I wouldn't I wouldn't say there's a specific ska scene. It's more of like a greater like DIY punk scene that kind of is like that the ska bands are sort of part of, I would say. I don't know if there's a specific like a lot of people that are just like just ska. So that's all I got to add to that.
So it sounds like you guys do have a community that goes to shows and supports each other. And
Yeah, there's for sure a community. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's pretty important. It's something we like to get into because that's how a lot of us came together was at shows and going to shows and just our love for the music and we try to support one another. So it's nice hearing from different parts of the country, how everybody's scene looks like and how it comes together and what it looks makes up.
Minneapolis is really weird in that it has the most venues per capita of any city in the country. Like, even more than Nashville or LA or Chicago or New York, whatever you want to, however you want to look at it. Like there are so many places to play live music. So there's a lot less like legitimate DIY shows happening. Like the house show scene really kind of died over the pandemic, which I've heard is like kind of a similar case for a lot of places. Like in LA, you get a lot of outdoor shows or like backyard shows, but because the weather is pretty nasty for like 3/4 of the year, that's not really an option here. Basements will come and go, but there's a lot of bands to play at a lot of venues, and there's a whole page dedicated. I hope other cities have something like this, but there's this social media account called Undercurrent MPLS. Oh wait, yeah, those
Yeah,
are the
that's
four
correct.
letters. That will post every day. Like these are the shows happening tonight, and sometimes they even have to make two posts because they can't fit it all on one photo. And then they have like two or three people that will take videos at shows and then post a song or two of like three shows every single day, just kind of like archiving what's happening, which is really cool. And I applaud their efforts to do that. But from a musician side of things, sometimes a show will absolutely pop off and you'll have a great time. Like you'll dang near sell out the venue, and then you'll do the exact same advertisement, like announcement, like similar size of bands that are playing, uh, and like 10 people will show up, and you didn't do anything different. So like it's always kind of a crapshoot, but it also is like very possible for any band to have a wonderful time here.
Yeah. We're lucky in the sense that like tomorrow I could go to like one of like 8 shows that I know of and I know people performing at. But at the same time, yeah, it makes the scene tough to like actually like be consistent in sometimes for sure. So it's like it's good problems I'd say overall, but it's definitely something that's it's present for sure. So
Is that where that community comes into play to where you have people that are going to be showing up and got your back and at least you're playing to a handful of people?
yeah, for sure. Yep.
So flip side thing, if you guys weren't doing music, what would you guys be doing?
Well, like Mason records music. Does that count, or is that still doing music?
I still count that as music.
Yeah.
Well, if I wasn't pursuing music for like my entire life, I guess the only other thing that I am interested or like was interested in academia was environmental science and trying to like figure out some ways to strengthen or I guess lessen the damage that's being done to the environment. Because like growing up when you can like see that over the course of like just my lifetime of how much things are changing on a yearly basis, like it's definitely concerning. So I'd love to have the time and energy to give back into that. I've also had like a fleeting desire to do like stand up or some form of like uh comedy, whether that be the whole like YouTuber thing or I guess now everyone's influencers, but and especially over the last year, I'm kind of like, oh, that feels icky. Seeing people who have like, started the YouTuber thing when they were 20 and are now like 35 or 36 and like still on that grind. And it's like, dang, I mean, none of us knew what this was gonna look like 15 or 20 years down the line. So I wonder what's going through your head right now. Mason, what about you? Would you just be doing accounting stuff?
Um, I don't know really. I've never had the same job for more than like 2 years, so it's hard to say. I have been my day job right now is just like QuickBooks basically. So, and it's been fun. I enjoy that. So maybe that something along those lines.
QuickBooks for a dope as fuck tattoo shop.
Oh,
Might I
Yeah,
add.
it's
that's
true.
different.
Yeah.
So I'm an accountant, but I am an accountant for a cigar company. So it's kind of like laid back and chill and yeah.
Do you
Sweet.
smoke cigars?
Um, not so much anymore. I used to occasionally,
They
but I
make me
have.
throw up.
Do they?
Yeah.
It used to be like special occasion kind of thing, but then during COVID, my husband and I would be like, "Oh, once or twice a week, we'll go sit on the deck, have a cigar," because there was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
But then I kind of phased out of it again. I can't tell you the last time I had one.
I smoked Black and Miles for a while, but I don't think those count as cigars, do
No,
they?
they're machine made.
Yeah, those are.
Man, might as well smoke a blunt.
I got a cigar when we were in New Orleans just because it seemed like a thing to do while perusing the nightlife. And it's good, but boy, is there a lot of it to smoke.
Oh yeah. I remember one night I went out with the sales team that came in for like the company meeting or whatever. And I smoked 3 cigars in one night, and I don't know how I did that. But the next morning I woke up and boy could I feel it. My throat
Uh,
was awful on fire. You don't want to inhale it, but I mean I guess you do
Yeah,
secondhand, you know. But
that's a power move. Oh my
yeah.
goodness. Three
yeah,
cigars in a night? You're kind
yeah.
of a legend
It
for
was a
that.
long night, but still. I don't know that I could do that again.
Mm. Okay. So we're all really glad that you did decide on making music and wanted to know what was the path leading up to starting Runaway Ricochet? How did it all come together?
Well, I really liked ska music and I wanted to, I started writing, was a junior in high school, right? March 26, no, March 2015. It's a blur. Um, but started learning the bass for that, and I had a little menagerie of people in high school that would play in my band, but I was like kind of a hard ass and would be like, you guys aren't practicing. Like, why do you think we're gonna get any better if we just like all meet once a week? Like, you have to put in some time. And they were all just kind of like, we're just having fun. Like, we just want to hang out and like play at our high school talent show. And I'm like, this is my life. This is like what I want to do. You don't want to do that? They're like, nah. So then I just like learned how to, after with my first like few paychecks working at a grocery store, I bought a drum set, learned that, bought a guitar, and then like recorded the whole first Runaway album in my parents' basement, and it sounds like it. We actually like Mason worked at a different studio before he opened up his own, and I went in and re-recorded the drums sneakily before Diminishing Returns came out, so it wouldn't sound quite so basement-y. But the OG mix is Saxton's mix is on Bandcamp, if you're into that sort of thing. But yeah, so did that. I wanted to like have that out before I went to college to just have that be like, you know, the the songs, the high school songs. And then I met people at music school, primarily my roommate David, who would go on to change the whole course of Runaway Ricochet. We stand on we're how's it? We're on the shoulder of giant. He was the giant whose shoulders we stand on, in a sense. So yeah, I met him. My other roommate at the time, Colin Johnson, and who played horns on Gas Station? Oh, Kayla played trumpet, and then one of my childhood best friends, who's now my roommate at my current house, Christian, played trombone on it, and then my dad, who is a crazy good jazz saxophonist, recorded tenor on that, which is why there's that ripping solo at the end of Candid on Gas Station Culture, which he just like improved in like one take, and he's like, cool, we'll roll with it. It's like, that's crazy.
That's awesome.
And I started listening to heavier stuff, and David like was always into really heavy stuff, and so like Gas Station Culture was predominantly me still writing everything, and then they just learned my parts with like putting a little bit of their own spin on it. But for Diminishing Returns, David and I eventually lived together again in a really ratty house in Dinkytown, which is like the college area of Minneapolis, and we went through a ton of horn players through the pandemic and like before that, before he introduced me to Mason, and then Mason's friend Jason moved up to join in on trombone, and one of our friends from music school, Sam, he kept filling in until we were just like, Sam, you're in the band now. And he was like, what? And we're like, yeah, you're in the band now, come on. He's like, okay, I guess I'm in the band now. So then it's like, we have absolute rippers of musicians, we can go crazy with this next record. And like he wrote Make It Out and then arranged, he isn't David, sorry, wrote Make It Out and arranged Swan Song and Burnout, which are like two of the heaviest songs on the record, and then worked with me on a lot of the other stuff. And I like wrote a fair amount of weirder stuff after listening to like Thank You Scientist and getting really into Chon and Polyphia and all these techie bands that are out there now. And yeah, that's how you get the thing that is Diminishing Returns.
Very nice. So the lineup you have now, you've been together since about like post-pandemic.
Yeah, well, so after we did a tour in August of 2023, and
I saw
after
you on that tour, I think.
What show? Probably.
Well, it might have been before. I saw you at a weird little VFW in Bridgewater, New Jersey, with Backyard
Yes.
Superheroes and Code. Threat Level Burgundy and the End Times. Yep,
Yeah.
I was at that show.
Nice. The PA blew out on that show.
Sure did. Those speakers were smoking.
Yeah, that was a strange place for a ska party, but it was such a fun time.
Yeah, that was our first time in New Jersey. And it was very interesting. I wrote a song kind of about that the next day that'll come out in like 5 years. No, hopefully sooner than that. But
Sweet.
yeah, no, that was a super fun tour. After that tour, we're like in the home stretch of Diminishing Returns. It was supposed to come out before that tour, and then David was like, guys, it's not going to come out. I'm like,
oh yeah,
okay.
David was mixing the
He
album.
mixed it. He did a phenomenal job. It sounds amazing. And it, it took its time, and I'm glad it did because I love the way that it turned out. But it was a little tense, and I think mixing this album like just about did him in because David was like, "Yeah, I'm quitting the band after this," which was like, "Okay, you've never loved ska, I get it." Uh, and so we had Joe Lundy, who plays guitar with us now. He had subbed in with us, I think, like 2 or 3 times over the course of the band's history. And we were like, let's give it a shot. Because, like, when we do sub gigs, like, it's kind of hard to sub in people to play this music. And so we, like, go with the easy songs. We're like, okay, none of the weird time signature stuff. Let's just, let's play in 4/4 tonight. And we were like, let's see how he does. And he absolutely crushed it. And we've done 2 tours with him since and are about to go in the studio to record some new stuff. And I am looking forward to, now that like we've done plenty of the live show stuff together, work with him in the studio because he's already like started writing some really interesting parts for what we've been stewing on.
Awesome.
I was going to get into your discography, but you kind of touched on it a bit. The first 2 albums, were they self-released albums, not on a label? Yes.
Yes. Those 2 and the EP we did made from recycled materials was all just self-released.
And then how did you hook up with Ska Punk International for this last one?
So it all started when I went to this little thing called SBI Fest in 2023 down in Austin, Texas. I flew down. My best friend lives down in the Austin area, so like, you know, whenever there's something really awesome down there, I want to go like get to visit him and then also go see this thing. So I flew down, absolutely loved the festival. But my buddy lives an hour outside of town, and he's like, I'm not going to go to a ska festival with you all day. I actually don't know if I asked him. Maybe he would have said yes, but I think I was just like, I'm going to go to this ska festival, and can I stay with you when I'm not there? And he was like, yeah, that's cool. So then I was staying with my buddy Chris, who I don't think he's in any bands down there now, but he used to play with this band called Goodbye Mordecai up in Minneapolis. But he lived about like 30 minutes from Dirty Sixth Street, which is where the Flamingo Cantina was. So I was like, I'll just get an Uber back and stay with you, because he didn't want to stay until like 2 a.m. when the festival got out. Second day was daylight savings time. So when the festival ended at 2, it then became 3 a.m. It was the first week of South by Southwest. And if I wanted to get an Uber back to his place, it was going to be $150. And I was like, that's crazy. But also I don't want to sleep on a park bench tonight. So I'll go for it. So I just like was hanging out outside waiting for this Uber. It never came. So I like bashedly go back to the venue, and I'm like just kind of waiting in the back by Kurt and Rosie from Hans Gruber, and like I'd known them from booking them a show up here in Minneapolis, which is a whole other. There was almost a tornado, and it was an outdoor show, crazy. Anyway, so I'm just like hanging out, and eventually like one of them notices me just like sitting in the corner and is like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, hey, I don't have a place to sleep tonight. Can I go back to your place with y'all? Like, do you have room for me? And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. We're kind of like SPI headquarters right now, but like as long as you're cool with sleeping on the floor, we got you. And I'm like, awesome. Okay, love it. So then I like waited for the whole venue to clear out and helped them load their stuff. Like parking was a nightmare. So Kurt parked their car like 5 or 6 blocks down. And so I was like, okay, I'll just hang here with Rosie, and Kurt goes to get the car. And it's like, 4 a.m. at this point. All the bar owners are like going back in the alley, and there's like some weird riffraff that's just like having conversations with us. And in my mind, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, how did I get here? Eventually we go back to the house and stay up drinking a little more. I meet Chris from SPI, and we're doing shots together, and Michi and Diglo of Mega Infinity were there too, and so like we're all just having a good time. We go out to breakfast the next morning. We all go on our ways. Runaway does this East Coast tour in 2023, and we play with a whole bunch of these SPI bands that I had like met down at SPI Fest, and I was like, oh hey, I play in Runaway Ricochet from Minnesota, and they're like, oh, we know you, and I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. So we do all these shows with them, And I guess after every show, the SPI crew was like texting Chris and was like, you gotta sign Runaway Ricochet. This shit's crazy." And Kaylee was at the New York show, and she just like called Chris and had the phone like on speaker so that he could hear the whole set through the phone. And so then think like after we finished the last we did like the one of the least of all sessions in New York, rest in peace, where you do a live studio session. They like cut it all to lathe vinyl and sell them all off. Chris texts me through Discord and was like, "Hey, everyone's telling me I gotta sign your band, so like let's talk some business." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you want to hear some of the demos we have?" So I sent him like Optimist in a different form before we had like rewritten the chorus and some other stuff, and he was like, "I love it. I'm gonna get you a record." There we go.
Nice. It sounds like you were already loving the people on the label, but how has it changed your life, both in the band and personally, being on this label and having this new community to be a part of?
Mason, I'd love to hear your input since you don't handle like the business side of things and you just get to experience the community. Like, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's a super positive impact on the band for sure. Well, okay, so from the outside looking in, so Saxton does all the booking and like outreach and like tour management and merchandise and pretty much like everything that a band needs to like exist. And I play their music as best I can. And so I watching from the outside in the last like these last three tours, like I can just remember the first tour, like it wasn't just like, hey, we don't quite have a place to sleep tonight. It was like, we might not have a bill for this venue, or like, oh, this venue actually like double booked us, or like just like it was. I remember it being kind of a struggle to like get some of the I's dotted and the T's crossed. And so the second tour was definitely a little cleaner because we had already at that point then, you know, it was our second run out to the East Coast, and so we already had made a couple connections, and um that made things a little bit smoother. But post the second East Coast tour, and like after the signing to SPI, and I mean, I'm there's a huge Discord community that I kind of creep around in. I don't usually say much, but I was invited to join, and I just kind of creep around. But like it's such a great and amazing resource, like not only for like, you know, drumming up support for a local show in a city that you've never been to, but like just like finding resources and bands to like play with, and like, you know, help to kind of like find places to sleep and things like that. And so this most recent tour we went on, we went down south, probably, I mean, weather wise had like the most hitches, and like, you know, that we had to cancel a show due to snow in Austin and things like that. But it's just like overall it was like way tighter and cleaner compared to the first two, just because we like I remember like it was probably like 4 or 5 months out, and I was just like, "Hey Eric, how's the booking going?" And they're just like, "Pretty much done." Like I've got like, you know, one venue that's like, you know, you'll have to run sound at or something. And I'm just like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like it just like getting getting on the label and opening up that community just made like, as a DIY band, you know, because I mean, we don't have like a manager or anything, you know, we don't have like a booking agent, like, and so having that community and that support, I think, went a long ways to help make the tour successful. And so from the outside looking in, I'd say that, you know, that was super beneficial.
I think you know, one of the most important things about being signed to the label is that we had this show cancel in Austin, and you know, if we were just an unsigned driftless band, we would have just had to figure it out. But we had friggin' cool Chris up in the like general Dallas Fort Worth area that was like, you can just chill here. We'll just hang out. And we're like, cool, really? So that's, you know, that's the perks that the hot shop label life gets you. And then we also get to put out a vinyl record with Chris. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like the whole like being signed to a label is really just you know, we're still each doing our own thing. I'm still like buying merch for the band and like booking these tours and writing the music, and Chris is like, I love what you do. I'll like get your name out to the people that I know, and I'll put some money out for you guys to have a vinyl record. And honestly, like a vinyl in itself is just so much of a like people take you more seriously when you have a vinyl record. We're not, it's like the difference between like the local band and like a band. Like, oh, you guys have vinyl. You're a band. Like, yeah,
We
that's what I've
did
been
it.
telling you.
Is that like the business card of the music industry? Like,
Yeah, I suppose so. Nobody even listens to them anyway, so
No, I think a tape, like a cassette, might be closer to like the business card.
I have these download cards that I should really just like give out at this point. Like they're so worthless. But no, it's
I
like
actually use them.
you
Like
do.
the ones that come with the vinyl that I purchase, I use for the show because otherwise I have to buy the MP3s to put onto the show. So
Nice.
they come in handy, and not every vinyl comes with one. So yeah,
Yeah, I actually I should get on that because our vinyl doesn't come with one.
that's the only thing I use them for, because I mean I pay for a streaming service for when I'm not home, but I do
Yeah.
listen to vinyl at home.
I'm gonna see what I can do to get some download cards in the rest of these vinyls or something.
There you go.
I think if you buy it through the SPI web store, I'm pretty sure you also get a digital like FLAC or WAV or MP3
Right.
or whatever you want. So
I'm pretty sure most of the SPI releases come with it.
yeah, I just need to. I don't think the actual physical vinyl does if you buy it at a show. So I'm
Uh,
gonna that. Thanks for pointing that out. I'm gonna do some research.
I don't know how many people use them. Honestly, before we did Skagazine, I never used them. They would go to waste. So I guess it depends on the person and what they're, what they can use it for.
I usually give them to people who listen to something Sky adjacent.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
maybe you like this. You should check it out.
Right.
Whether
I'll
you do or don't, I'm not gonna use it because I got the vinyl. So
yeah. I'll never forget. I love RX Bandits. They're probably my favorite band, and I take a lot of influence from them in my songwriting. And Matt Embry was doing an acoustic tour, and like this is way before Diminishing Returns or anything. So we just had gas station culture, and I went to his acoustic show in Chicago and like went up to him after the show and gave him the CD, and I was like, "Hey, I just like want to let you know you're a huge inspiration. I really love your music." And my band takes a bit of inspiration from you, and we're working on a new record that'll like really show it, but like this is the latest thing we have out. And he's just like, oh, thanks. I don't think I have any way to play a CD right now. I was like, oh, of course, why would you? Like computers, cars don't have them anymore. Like so, like he was like so genuine about it, but he's like, I can't listen to this. I was like, that's so fair.
I said the same thing for the longest time when people were handing me CDs. And then, I mean, I took a couple anyway because they signed them for my kid or whatever. And then I got home and I'm like, you know what? We have a PlayStation. You can play CDs on a PlayStation.
Right.
Probably an Xbox too. People
Yeah.
might not think of that because I didn't think of it for like a while. I was like, oh, wait.
Not on the Nintendo though. The Nintendo doesn't play a CD.
Oh,
But oh, I
Tyler
don't know
does the
if any of
sorry.
y'all are into Origami Angel, but they released their newest album on DS. You could buy a DS cartridge and listen to the whole album like a week early if you were like one of 50 people to buy one. And I'm like, that is genius.
That's awesome. I'm not familiar with them.
I'm gonna be just because they
Yeah,
really
we're
put the
definitely
right?
album on
not
video.
now.
Yeah, they're really good. I mean, like there's also a lot of if you like our song Apathetic, that song takes a lot of inspiration from Origami Angel, particularly that whole like weird bridge section. So if you like that, you'll probably like them.
Eric, do you have time for the toothbrush spiel?
Yeah, I'll tell them about the toothbrush. Okay, so I like old like forms of media are fun, like people like hit clips. I don't really know what a hit clip is, but it sounds cool. It sounds like a cool thing to pursue. But I have a pipe dream of do y'all remember Tooth Tunes? No, it was a toothbrush that would like play music on it while you brushed your teeth, and it was 2 minutes long so that you would know how long to brush your teeth for. And I really want to release a 2-minute punk EP that's 4 30-second songs, one for each quadrant of the mouth, so that you can like really time yourself on where you're putting your attention, and that's the only way these songs are ever going to be released is on this Runaway Ricochet tooth tunes toothbrush.
I love it, but you
Tunes
got to
brush?
be able to replace the Bristol part. Like we got to be able to replace that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good call. Okay, you're full of good ideas. I'm writing this down.
We occasionally call this the Ska Shark Tank because we come out with a lot of good things on the show. The best was Ryan's t-shirt, obviously. Tell them about your t-shirt.
I got one made from Lindsay from Rude Girl Review made more punks and politics shirt for me.
Nice.
We're talking about the elections and everything coming up, and I told her how I was running for drain commissioner of Isabella County, and it was an idea I had. She's like, "It's gonna be a t-shirt." So
yeah.
I was the first order.
I hope they're
That's
selling
sick.
it over this year or something. I'll buy one.
I'm still up on her Etsy.
Oh, she actually made them to sell. I thought she just had one made for you.
No.
Ooh.
That's a
Yeah.
good shirt. I think Dante would rock one of those in a
Oh,
crop
yeah.
top.
Everybody go buy a More Punks and Politics shirt from, what's the Etsy name? You don't know.
I'd have to look at her.
Drop it in the show notes
Yep.
because that's what we need.
And if you don't want to buy a shirt, then just go be a punk in politics.
True.
There you go. Yeah, be a punk in politics.
Absolutely. And speaking of punks and politics, and it's going to release too late. There's a big protest on Monday. I was talking to Saxon about earlier. 50501. So this Monday, 12 to 4, all across the country, 50 states, 50 capitals, one day, people are going to be showing up and standing up for the rights and fighting this bullshit that's going on in our government right now. So
nice. I hadn't heard of that, so thank you for sharing.
Yep.
I need a Not My President shirt. Like I had the Not My President shirt with Bush on it that Fat put out.
Okay.
I need another one of them. Who's going to make them, Lindsay?
I'm sure she'd do it.
Okay.
Take her like 5 seconds, probably.
I still have my Not My President Bush shirt.
I mean, I think people would get the gist if you wore that, if you can't get the updated Not My President shirt.
Looking back, I would totally take Bush over this fuckface anytime. Hate it, Bush. But what the hell?
Just get a fabric marker and make Bush orange.
Oh, that's a great idea. I love it. That's what I'll do.
Nice. That's what
But
protesting
anyway,
is
speaking
about.
of masterminds, so Saxton, you're the one that created Runaway Ricochet. We should thank you for that, correct?
Thank me or hate me for it. The band
I'm gonna
exists.
choose to thank you. I think the rest of us would. Your record actually made Janice's top 5 for 2024, just so you know.
Wow.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. The music, it's inspirational, and I don't know. It was my album of the summer. I listened to it in repeat, in the car, everywhere I drove. It just means a lot to me. It's a great album.
That's awesome. I'm glad that it was able to be the soundtrack to your summer. I do feel like we might have missed out by not releasing it in the fall because I've heard the sentiment and I kind of agree that Runaway Ricochet is like a winter band, which, like, darker songs we're from a cold climate. It kind of makes sense, but I'm glad that it works in the summer too.
Yeah.
I feel like the music is summer, the lyrics are fall winter.
Yeah.
If that
That's
makes
fair.
any sense.
Yeah. That's kind of ska. Feels like ska, like in a nutshell, a lot of times.
Happy beats with emo lyrics.
Yep.
That's what we're about here.
I did have a question on some of the timings. You mentioned David. Who was it that comes up with the composing?
It's so both of us like to get weird with it. So as they say, so David did Burnout and Swan Song. So like the whole bridge breakdown section of Swan Song that's in like all the weird time signatures was him. But then I wrote the verse for that one. We both like worked together on the chorus. For Burnout, David, myself, and Sam all kind of figured out that ending thing. Like after the last chorus, and it's just that like instrumental minute and 30 seconds through the end. We all kind of workshopped that together in a practice room. But then like 5 questions, that bridge, I'm pretty sure I had like a lot of these songs start with uh lyrics in my phone, and I'm thinking of the song, like the melody and the chord progression as I'm writing the lyrics. So it's not just like starting as poetry and then I like put the poetry to music. It like kind of happens at the same time when I'm writing the words down. But then I'll pick up a guitar and start playing through it, like tweaking the melody, tweaking the chords. And once I have like a solid verse, chorus, and maybe a bridge, then I'll start trying to play through. So I think I hit record and I was going through, and I had like this first half of the bridge section in 5 questions. And then I just kind of improv the whole like weird mixed meter thing. That, the horns are kind of like doing this melodic line over, and the drums are just like really nutty. I think that was just like a one take, and then I was like, yeah, I like that. Cool. That's the timing. And it's in like 9/4, I think. And then um Apathetic was kind of the same way, where I was just playing through on the acoustic guitar and just like kind of felt it out, and then like listened back and was like, yeah, that sounds good. Cool. There's
Yeah.
there's a new one that it was a B-side, or like it got cut from Diminishing Returns because I wrote Apathetic and was like, this is a way better song and this is going on the album. But after showing it to some people on tour, I think we got to bring this song back. The working title is Gossip, but it's like a full mixed meter song where like every single measure is something else. Like it just is like in 5/4, 6/4, 9/4 for the whole verse, like just switching between those three. I guess like you could think of it as like 24 if you put all that together, but that's dumb.
I love the timings on especially Diminishing Returns. Like it's constantly changing. It keeps all the songs fresh.
Absolutely. I love to make the head work a little bit when it's listening. Like as I've mentioned, I listen to a lot of like weirder stuff. Like RX Bandits has a lot of time signatures. Thank You Scientist. One I've been super into of the last year is this math rock band that I think they're from New Jersey, called Good Game. They're on Joe Scala's label, Choke Artist. And the guitar player also plays in the Invalids, if you've heard of them at all. But this is all like very, very far from ska. But I was kind of like, I've never heard people get mathy with ska, so I'd love to do that. And I actually like just recently started listening to Fatter Than Albert, who, if you haven't listened to them, you absolutely should. Like their music is crazy. A bunch of like the Bad Operation Cats used to be in that band, and I've like always heard the name, and I remember like listening to Aaron's Runaway Imagination like once or twice and being like, this is all right. But then I like just re-listened to it, and they were doing all this stuff before we came along, so just goes to show you, everything's already been done.
But everybody can put their own spin on things, and that's
Yeah.
what makes it unique.
Definitely.
I would like to know who drew these adorable little sword fighting mushrooms.
Oh, you got one of the bootleg EPs.
No way.
Yeah, that was a first tour special. So, like I said, Diminishing Returns was supposed to be out, and it wasn't, but we had 4 songs that were like more or less ready to go out. And
A little sneak peek.
Yeah. So David had the idea to burn these CDs at shows. So we would burn them like legitimately before every single show.
In the van, yeah.
Yeah, and then generally like get rid of all of them. I think we just like gave them away if you bought a shirt. Like you got one as well.
Yeah.
And so the drawings was Sam, our
Wait,
drummer.
which one? Can I see that one again? I could probably tell you. Wait, I can't see everybody yet. Will you talk while you're holding it up?
Oh, wait. Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
That I think that's a David drawing.
I mean, how cute are they?
I think that's
They're
David.
super cute.
Yeah, it was Sam and David primarily that were drawing those.
That was amazing. I love stuff like that. I love that little,
Do you like the so that little bootleg is the only way you can hear the first version of Optimus because it has a completely different chorus.
Oh yeah.
And then we put Dogtown on it, which was this single that we recorded to try and get into Cyberpunk 2077. They did like this contest for their DLC where you could potentially get a song in there. So I was like, hey, let's try it, which is why that song sounds so different. And then there's a thank you track at the end.
Yep.
Very fun.
So
I'm so glad you brought that up.
It'll make a comeback.
Like it's all like handwritten. I know this is a podcast; people can't see what I'm talking about, but you guys can appreciate it.
Maybe you can post a picture of it when you are promoting the podcast.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Absolutely.
You should upload that. You should upload that to the internet, and so people can download it illegally.
You sure
people
can.
need to know.
Or Janice, you can just make copies and fucking sell them.
Oh, there you go.
I'm kidding.
Maybe I don't have that technology.
Or top hands.
Nobody even has a way to play CDs anymore, anyways.
I know.
I
still have a little boom box, all right?
I'm
old fashioned.
I want to get a boom box again. I do. Do they still sell them things?
I think so.
Yeah.
I had a boombox at my last house and it only lasted like 2 years. I was super bummed because I would like they have them with like Bluetooth now too. So like you can put a CD in and listen to it, or like a USB, or just Bluetooth your phone onto it. So I just had it in the kitchen, and David and I would sometimes just like sit in the kitchen and listen to music together on the boombox, which was really fun and wholesome. But yeah, they don't make them like they used to, or so I hear. I feel like it probably used to last longer than 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've had them longer than 2 years for sure.
Yeah.
I'm old though.
My dad had a set of tower speakers from they were 40 years older, some Kenwoods.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Does he still have them?
They died out eventually. I can't even remember the name of the freaking the outlet store they got them from. It was the really big one that went down like early aughts.
Radio Shack?
Radio Shack. Thank you.
Radio Shack.
Yeah.
Never forget.
I'm gonna say Circuit City, but
that's what I was thinking.
It was totally Radio Shack. Yeah, he couldn't even read anything on the receipt when he brought it in there. It was like, it was lifetime warranty. He's like, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, you get me new speakers. What you supposed to do?
That's wild.
They
on that
it.
lifetime warranty 40 years later, like the friggin' store owner's son is in there. They're like, my dad sold you these speakers. These are ancient.
He got new speakers out of it.
Hey, well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's something.
That's why they went out of business, because they were replacing things 40 years old. That's insane.
And that's why they
Er,
don't make them like they used to.
Yep.
no. No. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was your music videos. I really enjoy them. I find them very entertaining, and we just wanted to know what inspires you to make them, what goes into making them, and how do you choose which songs you want to do them for?
Well, Uncle Qrow is one of the first songs that I wrote for Diminishing Returns. I think, let's see. So Anchor was the first one, believe it or not. I wrote that like the month after we got back from recording Gas Station Culture, and was just like, oh, I have all these ideas flowing. And then I wrote it and was like, this is way different. But then Uncle Qrow came shortly after that. And that one always just felt like a single to me. And then David wrote Make It Out, which was like, very, I don't know if poppy is the right word or like pop influence, but like just very catchy. And so that we were like kind of deciding between that and Five Questions. And then Optimist, I was like, I feel really good about this song. I think this should be a single. And David was like, you need to write a better chorus if this is going to be the single, or let me write a chorus. And I was like, no, dug my heels in. And then eventually I was like, okay, yeah, try something. So then he shot me back a chorus and I was like, oh, this is really cool, but I want to change a few things. And so then I like did a pass over it. And then it came out and we were like, oh, this song is a single for sure. So, um, like there's other, I would think it would be really fun to do a music video for Esker Grove, and I have an idea bouncing around in my head for that, but it's like very large and expensive, so who knows if that'll happen. But um because we had spent so long in this record, we were like, we should do music videos and like we should try and do a big release and try and catch some people's eyes with this. And we have some friends that are really great videographers. The person who shot Uncle Qrow, Chelsea, she is a guitar player in the Von Tramps, and also does all this like crazy commercial videography, and was like the official videographer for the fest in Gainesville last year,
Oh
which
wow.
maybe the past 2 years. Like she's crazy good. And so the fact that she was willing to work with us on the budget that we had was amazing. And um that song is influenced from the anime Ruby, and one of the characters just being like an alcoholic but also like being a guardian for someone. And so I was just trying to capture that in the music video, and had like kind of these rough ideas of how to play that all out. We went to our friend's coffee shop, Curioso. It's like, where can we film? Like, where do we know people? And so that was an obvious filming location. And um, like the whole thing where there was that where he's like behind the glass in that vacant storefront, like that mall is just like half abandoned. And I was like, you think we could go in there and film? And they were like, yeah, probably. Yeah, I think that's fine. So we just did, like, just kind of spur the moment. For Make It Out, I want to say that was like kind of David's idea to
Yeah.
have like a Scooby Doo style music video, or like he like was like really into the one scene where like we did the hallways or the doors where like there's all the different people running across the frame. And I had a friend who had a cabin in Wisconsin where I was like, oh, this could be a really fun place to shoot like a campy style video. One of the things that I think kind of influenced that in my brain was Remo Drive. They're a Minnesota band. They did a music video for um I think it was like I'm My Own Doctor or something like that, where they did it at like a summer camp. And I was like, oh, the campy vibe's super fun. So like let's try this for the Scooby-Doo murder rampage. And like we
That
just
was
kind of like bounced ideas back and forth, and had another friend, Aaron, do the videography for that. Aaron was actually the guy who was working at the coffee shop. He's one of the co-owners of the coffee shop we shot at for Uncle Qrow. So he makes a guest appearance in both those music videos. Um, and yeah, I think like we were just kind of riffing off each other. Like we David and I each had like a few scenarios that were like, this would be really fun to shoot. And then Aaron like brought some ideas to the table, and like we just kind of shot it all. And like, I guess I would loosely direct some shots, but then Aaron would just like go edit it, send it to us. We'd give him notes, and then he'd, do another round of edits. For Optimist, uh, Baldur's Gate 3 was just coming out or had just come out. And there's this animator that did this video like promoting the game where someone was like going through their day to day and rolling a 1 on everything. And I was like, that is hilarious. I want to do that in live action, because the song Optimist is about like, trying to keep positive when like everything is going wrong around you. Kind of like there's a few like very real things that happened to me where I was like, man, how can I stay positive right now? And like kind of like wrote that song off of it. And so I feel like that energy was like captured very well with that. And I've just again, like using the resources that I had. I do maintenance for my day job, so I had like all these tools, and one of my friends happens to live at a building that I work at. And so I was like, let me just like mess some things up in your apartment so that I can like come and fix them in the music video. And um again, just kind of like throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what works out on the day of shooting, because all of those music videos were shot in one day. I don't think we did any pickup shots for any of them. I guess for Optimist we did the band shoot one day, and then we did all of the story stuff another day, since the rest of the band wasn't really involved in that. And I guess same thing for Uncle Qrow, band shots. And the lamps was just like, I was just like, how can we make a photo shoot stand out for this album? Because like everyone just goes to a location and everyone's like got their arms crossed and is standing. Someone's looking off, being like the token, like rebel, not looking at the camera, being so cool. I didn't want to do that. So I was like, I just had the thought one night before going to bed, like, I wonder how many lamps I could buy for like $100 from Goodwill. And so
So what was
I, like,
the answer? How many?
I think I got 9 for that photo shoot. What I didn't realize is that you have to buy, when you go to a Goodwill, you can buy a lamp, but you have to like buy the shades separately. And I'm like, what?
Yes.
And they're all like separated on the shelf. And so I'm like I went to like 4 different Goodwills in a day, and bought all these lamps, and just like, they just collected in the back of my trunk. And eventually I think I went a little over budget. I think it was like $120, but damn, those lamps look good.
Worth it.
Future's looking bright now.
Where are
They,
they? Do you still have them?
yeah, they're all in my basement. And David throws this Halloween show once a year where he like comes and gets all the lamps and plugs them in. I had this idea. I'm still definitely down to do it down the road. I just don't feel like we're at a level where it would be worthwhile, but I would love to auction all of those lamps off once we have any form of clout, like before the next album comes out, before we move on. But say like, hey, here's all the lamps that we did in this photo shoot and that were used in the music video, and then like raise a whole bunch of money for charity. So what the charity is kind of depends on when I feel like we would be able to garnish any actual like sizable donation and what would need it at that time. But that's like my short/long-term goal for the lamps, because I do not need to have 9 lamps in my basement.
I'll take some.
If that were today, what charity would you choose?
So many. Oh my goodness. I would probably split it between like mutual aid in Gaza and like mutual aid for trans people around the country that are like getting ostracized from their communities, or like losing access to the resources that they had around them in their communities because dumb legislators being passed to go after people that are like really doing no wrong in the world. And just like, it's all a publicity stunt. Like it's all just like, I could go on a whole thing. But yeah, those are the 2
Yeah,
places that I would probably split the money between.
good choices.
Are you gonna autograph all the lampshades?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
I'm
Or draw
down.
pictures
The
of
lamps
them.
or the shades. I like worry about the integrity of the lampshade if we like all sign it, because then it's gonna cast weird shadows from the light.
Kinda cool.
Yeah, that's the vibe.
Sure.
Let's-
Yeah.
What if
we
you
should
do
just
sword fighting
I like,
mushroom?
yeah, the sword fighting mushrooms on the lampshades would be awesome.
Yeah,
I would
I'll
definitely pay extra for that.
we'll do a little
Higher.
commission box where like, what do you? Well, David's not in the band anymore, so we'll have to. The sword fighting mushrooms was kind of his thing. I don't know how he'd feel if we did that without him.
Right.
Maybe we can bring him back, get the band back
there you
together.
go. Yeah.
Commission him for some pieces or something.
Mm-hmm. Be like, hey, I know you're out of this whole ska music thing, but what do you think about ska illustrations or vaguely ska inspired? Like, can the mushrooms be into ska music? Will you still draw them?
Oh gosh.
Instead of having dots, they can have checkers.
I was just thinking the same thing, Ryan.
Oh my god, that's
I love
awesome.
it.
I love it.
Before we go on to the next segment, which I know is yours, Ryan, I need to ask. Those are set lists behind you, yes?
Oh yeah, there's some set lists back on the
Who are
wall.
they? I want to know. Whose are they?
Ooh, those are okay. I have lived in 2 different places besides this one where I had a whole wall full of things, and
Okay.
most of the set lists did not make the move. So the ones that have survived are Real Big Fish set list.
Nice.
Does not have a date on it, but it would have been from like probably like 2016. A Less Than Jake set list that was also from like 2017 or 2016, and then a Jeff Rosenstock set list.
Very nice.
I don't know where that one would have been from. And then
I've been
I
looking at that
I just
for a
saw
while.
Big D and the Kids Table when they came to Minneapolis in September, and I got a set list from that show that's sitting on my keyboard. And I just need to like suck it up and put it on the wall. But like, part of me is like, well, what if I have to cut into the wall? Because like I'm gonna try and get my house insulated at some point, and then it doesn't survive the transplant. And like object permanency is difficult with like pieces of paper and stickers.
Laminate.
Yeah.
Costs like $1 at Staples or something like that. You get laminated and you don't gotta worry
that's what
about it.
Or
I
just
won't-
pop it in a frame.
I have a lot of set lists and I won't tell you what I've done with them.
You won't? Why not? Now I want to know what you've done with them.
Yeah, I got it.
know, right?
Nothing. They're in a pile in a drawer. Like, I need to do
Oh,
I do need to do something with them. I have a lot of them. I love Chris P. Shout out to Chris from Detroit. She has these books, and how many set lists does she have? Like 600, 700? I don't
Oh,
know.
500.
Is it 500? Whatever. But at least she does
Wow.
something. I'm like, I come home with these things and I throw them in a drawer. They're all in the same drawer. Some of them, honestly, I throw into the vinyl sleeves because if I buy a vinyl that night, I just throw it right in the sleeve.
Ooh, that's smart.
Vinyl. But that's about all I do with them.
I have my binder of happiness that's just all these sleeves with all the set lists and stuff,
Okay.
random things I collect at shows. So.
I love that
They're
too. Do you
kind
put
of
guitar
organized.
picks in there too? What about a
Yes.
drumstick? Would you put a drumstick in there?
I have not. I have a drumstick, and I did because it would make it wouldn't close right, and that would
Right.
bother me.
We have a lot of drumsticks that we've gotten, and my kid says, if somebody gives me a drumstick, I want to play with that fucking drumstick. So he plays with them, and now they're all mixed up, and I don't know who's from what. Some of them are signed, some of them are not, so it's hard. But he always picks it up, and he's like, this is the one from so-and-so, and I'm like, how do you know that? And he knows. So
Wow.
for him, I don't know how he knows.
A drumstick wind chime would look kind of cool.
Oh, that's a good idea, too.
I have
Okay.
these aren't like drumsticks that I've gotten. They're all like drumsticks that either I've broken or the drummers that play on my drum set have broken, but I do have a vase just full of drumsticks downstairs.
Anyways, so we were talking about the music videos for some of the songs. Now maybe we can talk about some of the lyrics for some of the songs.
Yeah, let's.
What's your segment called?
It's called Brain on Ska.
This is your brain. This is your brain on ska. This is your brain. This is your brain on ska.
Oh, shit. Nice name.
Yeah. Well, you gotta thank Dave for that one.
Thank you.
I let Janice pick a couple of them because, like I said, her top five for last year. I did want to save mine for last, so we'll start with Mental Marathon.
No, okay. All right. This is my first time doing an official brain on ska, so
All right.
Go get it, girl.
so Mental Marathon, the lyrics really spoke to me. I'm gonna read a little bit of the ones that affect me and then just ask a little about what inspired that. So when I'm running mental marathons where every thought's a cataclysmic outcome, all solutions spoken in a foreign tongue, I overstimulate into a doldrum. I'm always running mental marathons where I'm the only thing that I'm running from. Every opportunity could load the gun to start the race or kill my sobriety. So thank you, anxiety. I mean, that's just like a mic drop moment there. It's so good.
Yeah,
I got
I was on one
chills.
with that.
It wasn't a very dramatic presentation in my reading, but listening to it, I do.
No, you did a great job. You did those words
Thank you.
justice. So, kind of interesting lore drop for this song. At a job I used to work at, I did a lot of landscaping, where I would just like be trimming plants for hours on end. And so I'd listen to podcasts, and there's this one podcast I listened to called Always Open, where they talked a lot about like mental health and relationships and whatnot. And at one point, like they had said like something was a mental marathon, and that just stuck with me. And I was like, ooh, that is a really good. I've always loved alliteration, and so like that just stuck with me and got my like head spinning. And so I started like trying to weave some lines together out of that, because it like did feel so accurate for what an anxiety attack feels like, where like you're just running and running and running in your head, like spinning circles, and like you're on to the next thought before you finish the thought that you're on. And so like you can't even understand the things that you're thinking. It's like all seems like so foreign, and everything around you just like seems so intense. And a way that you can cope with that is like by completely shutting down to everything around you, or to find an escape in the form of a substance that like might, kind of take your mind off whatever you're spitting out on. So yeah, this song is really just like laying out for people that might not be aware, this is what an anxiety attack feels like.
I
It's
feel like
very
we're talking
accurate.
a little bit about self-doubt in there too. Is there like kind of a throwback to that, or like
Yeah, I think that like a lot of anxiety can, or I guess at least for me, stem from self-doubt. And you can get in negative thought loops really easy if you don't take the time to acknowledge them, or like um get the like learn to be present, in the sense that like you can take a step back and go like, oh, I'm doing this thing again. So like definitely there's the like for me, the self-doubt and the anxiety can kind of like feed off of each other.
yeah, I feel like there's a really big strive for perfection in our society. Like, and people ask for it on themselves too, almost demand it. Like if you're not good at something right off the get go, then you're just awful and you're terrible and you're never going to be good. And like we've talked about it before on some podcasts, like it's okay to suck at something. Like sometimes,
Sucking at something is the first step to being kind of okay at
Yeah.
something, as Jake the
yeah,
dog says.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that strive for perfection is almost kind of the ethos of this album. Like we've talked about it as a band before, where it's just like, I mean, it took us it was multiple years of just like rewrites and like recording and re-recording and mix it, like, and it got to the point where we were just like, we gotta put it out, you know? Like we kind of like the perfectionist in all of us was kind of just like holding it back almost.
I mean, that's what like Diminishing Returns is all about, is that you can like keep chasing after that perfect thing, but you're going to get less and less back, like the more time that you put into it. It's a, you know, you have that bell curve, right? And it like is just getting like you're gaining less and less as it just continues to go on.
I have something I say to myself to remind me to not to go for perfect, just to go for, you know, whatever you put out is what you put out, and that is done is better than perfect. And I tell myself that all the time, because if we want something to be perfect, it might not ever even happen. So done is better than perfect.
It's a very wise saying.
It's so motivational. I like that a lot. I'm a terrible overthinker. Overthinking is like I get the gold medal in overthinking. So
Go, I'll do it.
I know your glasses are full, but it's the contents that alarm me. Your future's looking dull. Oh, on the path that you're following, it really feels like you're giving up. Like the root that you got stuck in's got its roots up in your garden, strangling the flower beds, expensive than a lion's. At some point you've gotta go.
right. And the second one we already touched on a little bit, but I picked Uncle Qrow. I picked a little excerpt from that. I see the fear in your eyes, wonder what you'll regret tomorrow. Your good intentions are lost in your lies. You will reap the seeds you sow. You make me feel like I'm never enough, like all the words that I've been saying. Start the wars that keep me praying, that someday you will listen and keep yourself from giving in. Just open the door. Like we already know it's about substance abuse, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. That someone they love having that kind of an issue. You said this is based upon an anime, or
Yeah, it's like definitely influenced from a character in the anime Ruby who's named Uncle Qrow, the titular character of the song. But like it's not necessarily writing like solely from that character's viewpoint or from the viewpoint of Ruby, who's the niece who is like the like youthful optimist that's trying to like break the cycle of addiction in her relative. But I think that we all have people in our life that we see the cycle that they get caught in with substance, and if there's someone that's really close to you, you can sometimes internalize some of that struggle to say like, are the people in your life like really just not enough, where you feel like you need to have this addiction? Not that like you should ever blame the person, but like it can be hard sometimes not to internalize those things and wonder like what actions that you've potentially taken in that person's life to perpetuate that addiction. Sorry, I know it's a lot of words. I'm like trying to think of all the
no,
words
it's
that
good.
were
No,
written in
that
like
makes sense. I mean, I think a lot of people, even though they know, addiction is an illness and it's not always a choice, you can put some of the blame on yourself, or how do you help, or not knowing how to help kind of puts you at a loss, and it's a tough feeling. I get it. I think it's a wonderful, it's a great thing to put into words, to put into song, to help people relate who might feel alone in dealing with that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of songs like about like the protagonist of the song, like whether that if it's like autobiographical or not. Like a lot of people write about addiction from the addict's point of view. Not a whole lot of people write from it from like a loved one's perspective, at least that I can think of. So I thought it was kind of like a fun new take on it.
Yeah, I think it's just important to have the conversation no matter what form it takes. It's always like this giant elephant in the room. Like that's the type of household I grew up in. It was always one of those things you just kind of deal with, friends, family, whatever it is. It's, they're going to be drunk, and well, that's just who they are. But,
Right.
at some point in time, we got to have a conversation about how we might be able to be better and do better, and, maybe set a better example.
It can be tough in the music industry too. And like a lot of times starting out as a band, the only thing you have guaranteed are drink tickets. And like you might not get paid, but you'll probably be able to drink for free. And I think that like can be really unhealthy if you don't acknowledge that. I'm thankful that like I started playing music before I could drink, and I wasn't underage drinking. So like I had that love of music, but I've definitely noticed in like the whole local band trope how that can happen.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely important, like who you surround yourself with too. I went and seen a band on tour with Dropkick Murphys, and Dropkick's been sober for years. Most of those guys have been. They actually have a fund that they use to help people struggling with addiction and life on the streets within Boston. But they were on tour with Dropkick, and they were sober, and I went and seen them like a year later, and they're back on the wagon. You know, I mean, that's what happens when you're on tour. You know, you're playing bars and, you know, seeing all these people, and a lot of people, you know, they get social anxiety. We hear that from even from performers and people that are on stage on a regular basis. You know, you're dealing with strangers, you know, 6 days a week when you're on tour. You know, it's one of those things that just kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah.
But you know, having people that support you and having people around you that know those struggles, that have been around that block, you know, it helps with you know, staying sober and, you know, keeping that demon at bay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, we have a very interesting band in that I mean, I might be the one who drinks the most in the band, to be honest. Like,
maybe on this last tour, but you know, not always.
yeah, but I mean, Sam drinks a little bit every once in a while, but
Never before the set.
yeah. Joe doesn't drink. Jason, well, I guess Jason and Dante, it's probably Jason, Dante, and I that are the most.
I
I don't smoke weed though.
I gotta put on my business face for Runaway. You know, I have other bands that are my fun time bands, but
That's true.
I feel like, you know, I gotta keep my wits about me a lot of times, because like especially in the earlier tour days, it's like, okay, I gotta go talk to someone and figure out where we're gonna sleep tonight.
Yep.
You mentioned your other bands a couple times. What are they? Are they ska, punk? What are you doing?
So I play in a funk band called Cattails. That is definitely a party band, and I play sax in that. And Mason recorded our album, and it'll be out in the next few months.
Okay.
Mason and I play in a band called The Confused that I don't even know how to describe, but
Space funk is how they describe.
What do they say?
Space funk is what Luke says.
Space funk. Sure, I guess.
It's like jam adjacent.
Yeah. We play next to the jam bands, not with them.
Yeah.
I play sax with this pop artist named Grayson DeWolf. And then
Space Monkey.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just recently I started playing sax with Space Monkey Mafia, which has been fun.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and I got another one with David that we're starting to get some wheels going on. So I've been learning bass. I'm finally gonna play bass in another band.
Oh yeah.
So I've been working on that lately, and then I also got my solo music that I do when I have time, which hasn't been a lot lately, but I write too many songs for them to all go to Runaway or like even the other bands that I play with. So then I have like a song bank of like my solo stuff. And I love doing like acoustic guitar shows, and then record stuff full band. But like in the last 2 years, that's definitely taken a bit of a backseat.
Are there any other projects?
Mason, tell them about your bands.
I play saxophone in The Confused with with Eric. And then I'm in a group called Beneath Green, which is kind of like a 60s, 70s like rock, like horn band. Like it's kind of like if you took like Pink Floyd and Billy Joel with like kind of Chicago-y horn lines. And
yeah,
that's kind of what it would be. Very like 60s, 70s revival. It's all original music, very like psychedelic rock meets Chicago basically.
Everyone in Minneapolis is a lot of people are polyamorous, but a lot of people are also polyjamorous.
Dude, we're very polyjamorous here.
Playing all the bands.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I busted in on your segment there, Ryan. Your turn.
The one song that I wanted to get into was 5 Questions. I feel like there's some good conversations with those 5 questions in particular. But you started off the song, you know, talking about, you know, what if I don't like waking up? The days, the weeks, the months just keep adding up, and every clock is another rock knocking on my window. what do I want? Who puts up the front? And how do I make myself want to live? I feel like this a lot of the song is about finding inspiration just to keep going every day.
Yeah, there's a lot of life is just a grind, and you got to find joy in the routine, or like ways to break out of that on a daily basis. Um, that song was it might have been written before the pandemic, but I just kind of like had there's like the narrative devices like who, what, when, where, why, how. So that whole chorus is just was based off of starting each line with one of those. Um and where the song title Five Questions come from. But it's definitely like your alarm goes off in the morning and you're like, I don't want to do this. Like I just do not have the energy to do this today, and like noticing how many times are you saying that opposed to not saying that when your alarm goes off. Okay, well, why? Or like, what can you do? Just I think like so much of the battle with mental health is being aware of the thoughts that you're having and like the thought cycles you can get into, and acknowledging them and like finding a way to move on from them or like break them up so that they don't become too overbearing. So like yeah, those are the questions that you have to ask yourself, like who, like when I just go on autopilot, like who is that putting up the front, or like well, who is this person I'm becoming when I'm just going through these routines, and like how do I make myself not want to be that person that's like just brain dead autopilot. Like how can I go back to like having energy to like go through the motions every day?
And at the end of the day, wind up needing some type of escape so that way they can get themselves back through it again, maybe.
Yep.
I think it's pretty important to like try to keep our childlike joy, for lack of a better word. Um, I don't know. And going into adulthood, I had a lot of responsibilities. I had a kid really young, so I had to make sure that we had food. I had to make sure that we had a roof over our heads. There's all these things I was obligated to do, and I started to realize all the things that I got to do, and the opportunities, like to find those little moments, that make it worth keep on keeping on type of deal.
Yeah, and sometimes you gotta like take a step back and look at the big picture and like look at how many things in your life have changed and like where you've gotten to, or like the things that you have in life, and be like, oh wow, this is something special that's going on. Can't be too like narrow focused.
Yeah, I know a lot of my mental health rests on staying grateful for the things that I have, instead of worrying about the things and how I'm going to get the things that I don't have. um it's actually important enough to me, like I got tattooed on my back, but that's part of
Nice.
me being sober for the last few years, so I got to keep that attitude of gratitude.
Yeah, I think that's great to have that little reminder on your body. I've definitely thought about like having some sort of memento like that.
Yeah, well, yeah, thanks for the insight on those lyrics.
Definitely. Sorry for getting so heavy. That's just kind of the turn that like I don't know, that's the stuff I want to write about, I guess.
That's my favorite kind of ska. It's like the happy beats with the dark words behind them, both sides of the coin type of deal.
Definitely the juxtaposition of it.
Yep.
Because who wants a summery song singing about pizza and hot dogs and go like pop punk's already doing that.
Don't
Going to
forget
the
the
beach with my
mozzarella.
friends.
Gotta get
Yeah, the mozzarella sticks.
We in all seriousness, we like to pick the songs for Brain on Ska, or Ryan usually does. But if you had to pick a song that you wanted to talk about, what would it be?
Oh,
It's always
what even to choose from? There's so many bad ones to pick. Sorry. No. I don't know.
It's
I feel like each of them have merit to talk about. So like it's a tough one to say. Um,
You should
Jason, what should I talk about?
talk about Esker Grove. I feel like that one's a little bit more
Oh,
it's there's more of like a concept would not be known to as many people.
that's true. And I don't think I've talked about that song to many people before.
it's
So
a
yeah,
magazine exclusive.
yeah.
Shit.
Esker Grove is near and dear to my heart. I wrote that song right like March and I think like March of 2020. So I had just moved to Minneapolis, just gotten this new job, work doing maintenance for apartments, and I was like taking like checking out all of the places in the city that I like couldn't go to when I lived like way out in the burbs. And one morning, my mom and I went to this cafe called Esker Grove, and it's attached to the Walker Art Museum, or it was. Um, where if you've ever like seen postcards from Minnesota, a lot of times they'll have Spoon Bridge and Cherry, which is like this big art installation in this outdoor garden, giant cherry on a giant spoon on a little island with water fountains around it. It's like kind of our thing for no reason. Now there's a giant blue cock, and that's they tried to make that the next Spoon Bridge and Cherry. Um, I don't think it has the same appeal. But yeah, so there's this outdoor sculpture garden and there's this cafe attached to the museum. We went there and I saw one of the most gorgeous servers I've ever seen in my life. And but like I'm there with my mom, I'm not gonna like flirt. So but then like I don't know, I was like kind of catching some vibes, but I just like wasn't thinking much of it because my brain wasn't thinking like that. And then like, we went on our way. As I was leaving, I was like, I should try and go back to this cafe. So I realized it was close enough where I could like go during my workday, eat half my lunch on the drive there, and then I would like bring clothes, like nice clothes to change into from my maintenance clothes, and get a coffee and read my book there. And I was like trying to like go there like every day of the week to try and like see this person again, which like looking back is like kind of weird, but uh I was trying to be sweet about it, okay? I wouldn't have like gone if like there were clear like don't come back vibes. Um so I went for like a week straight and then like never saw him and I was like, "Oh, they must be a college student. They probably like don't work weekdays." So then I went on the weekend with someone and sure enough they were working, but it was like super slam crowd and I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to talk to them now, but now I know I should like come early on a weekend and like maybe we'll make something happen." And then the next week, March 17th, everything shuts down and there's a sign on the door that says Esker Grove is closed indefinitely. I'm like, dang it, missed my chance.
Missed opportunity.
But then, like that first line from the song when I was 9, I shot bottles in the sky just to watch them fly. It was true. Me and my cousin at my grandma's house would play with this air compressor in the garage, and we would take the cap off like plastic water bottles, and then just like put the air compressor hoses in there, and like we could shoot them like 20 feet in the sky. So like we just did that, and then I thought that was kind of fun to make the analogy or like I tried to use some words, one like word from each of the first half of the verse in the second half of the verse. So like a bottle flying, like my heart rate, yada yada. The analogy kind of goes from there. But that was the origin of the song.
And you never saw that person again.
Never. Now
Mm.
the cafe closed over the
Right.
course of the pandemic, and now it's a Mediterranean cafe. And I mean, there's still like a bunch of cool artsy people that work there, but I'm also not trying to like go flirt with someone in their place of business, like or like their where they work. I realize as a more aged person that that's kind of tacky, and I don't want to put that kind of stress on someone. There you have it.
There
Esker
we have
Grove.
it.
Never again to have coffee at. I would get a mocha there every day, and it wasn't something on their menu, but I like little sweet things, so I was gonna drink a mocha, and each barista charged me a different amount because it wasn't on their menu. So I was also like keeping track of like how much it was each day.
What is each of your favorite songs to play live? Do you have one?
I love either Mental Marathon or Apathetic. I feel like I speak for the band when I say that those two are the favorites.
I
Do you crowd
always,
favorites as well?
uh,
Yeah, I would say
yeah,
so.
I'd say so. Apathetic's fun. I always want 5 questions
Okay.
in the set
Lately,
list.
yeah,
That's
you
probably
love
my
that
favorite
song.
one to play. Burnout's very fun too, but there's not a lot of horn stuff other than like the breakdown at the end. There's not a whole lot of like horn stuff like in the verses and the choruses. So
Must be nice.
Unlike Janice and Ryan, I have yet to see you live. So I'm in the Philly area. I don't know that you've been here. If you have, I missed you.
We've never been to
Uh-uh.
Philly. We've danced around,
Jersey.
but I would love to make it happen.
yeah, I think we did Pittsburgh. That's the furthest into Pennsylvania
Like
we've
5
gotten.
hours for me.
Yeah, I know.
Jersey would be the closer show.
Yeah,
Janice is from Jersey, but she frequents Philly shows. That's where we met. So
Nice.
we kind of go back and forth over the river.
nice.
The
Then I
city.
drove
Yeah.
6 hours to see you guys in Chicago. So
And we love you for that.
yeah,
That Chicago show is super fun. It only happened because Dante and I play in Runaway Ricochet and Space Monkey Mafia, and we were talking shop, and I was talking about this show that we were trying to book in Chicago for Runaway that like we already had the ball rolling on. Dante was like, "Wait, Space Monkey Mafia has a show in Chicago that night." I'm like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, we're playing with these bands." And I'm like, "Well, we're playing with these bands." And we're like, "This is dumb. Let's just make it one super show."
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Have you submitted for any festivals out here?
We ought to.
No.
No, you
Sorry.
should try out for them. Like Camp Pennsylvania and Supernova are great festivals to submit for.
Oh, Supernova. Yeah, we submitted for that one. But Camp Pennsylvania, I was too late on. I need to be better at delegating responsibilities because booking a 2-week tour is like a 6-month endeavor, on and off, while also trying to like, do other bands and have a personal life and also practice because this music's really freaking hard.
Yeah.
And then also
Like,
like write new stuff. So I need to just like give someone else in the band like a list of festivals and be like,
Yeah.
hey,
I'd love
send our
there's
stuff.
even like there's a handful of local festivals that we could probably easily get onto that we just haven't.
Sorry.
That's okay. None of my you're not alone. None of the bands I'm in, like, I mean, I'd consider myself a sideman more than anything in pretty much every band, but like no one submits for it in the bands that I'm in, so it's all right. I'll get there
What?
eventually.
Yeah. We'll get there eventually. I mean, Camp Pennsylvania looks sick. I've heard a lot about it. I definitely want to submit for next year.
What's that one in Buffalo that
Buffalo
happens?
Ska Fest. I don't think
Yeah.
they take submissions though, and neither does
Oh,
This is not Creedon Fest doesn't usually take submissions either. Now they do post a thing usually where they say who do you want to see and people say who they want to see, but that
So,
doesn't
callback. One of the cool things about being on a label is the fact that like Chris will often talk to like certain festivals and be like, "Hey, here are all of my bands that are like currently active and doing things that I'd like you to consider." And we've been on that list. So, there's nothing I can talk about right now, but like we do have some cool stuff in the works.
I haven't heard of this SPI Fest for this year yet, actually. I know you probably can't say, but hopefully there will be one.
Can't. He'll send people to my house. He knows where I live.
Anyway, I think Janice, I'm
Yep.
passing this off to you now, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, speaking of playing live, how far have you guys ventured out while touring?
We have been all over the country. In 2019, with a very different lineup, I was the only person who's still in the band who was on that tour. We went out to California, did some shows around Orange County. We played with Simple Minded Symphony in Orange County, which was awesome. Like met them and loved them. And then we played with Unicorn Injection, I think is what they were called, which I don't Talia from Bite Me Bambi. I think she was in that band. That was like a side project of hers. And then we went all the way up to Portland in that run and then drove back. And that was a very weird tour. Because like we were building momentum and then pandemic. So and we also did it I bought a Honda Odyssey minivan just so that we could go on tour. And it was cramped, but we made it work. And then we've done 2 runs out to the East Coast. The furthest north we've gone, we did a show in Western Massachusetts with Power Up. That show was awesome. It was a matinee.
Yeah, that was a cool show.
Loved it. And then I think Knockover City was on that show, and I can't remember the 4th band that was on that bill. But that one was super cool. That would have been that same run that you saw us in New Jersey. And then
that's when we got stuck in Bridgeport.
Oh my God, I don't want to talk about Connecticut. So then we've done the East Coast twice, and then we just did this tour down south, which was our first time going there. We went down to Dallas. We had a show in Austin, but it was hailing and snowing, so we canceled, and then drove over through New Orleans, got 10 inches of snow in New Orleans, was stranded there for a few days, and then went over to Pensacola, Florida, and then up through Birmingham and ended in Memphis. So, we've kind of been all over.
Everywhere except Philly.
I know, right?
We've driven through. The exit signs are lovely.
Feeling a little left out.
There's actually not a lot of bands that go to Philly anymore, to be honest with you.
I did try. I was talking to some people trying to make things happen, but there's only so many days on the road. In hindsight, I would have absolutely axed the Washington D.C. show. That show sucked.
Yeah.
Really?
And played Philly instead, but it was kind of fun to be in D.C.
Next time you're out this way, we got some connections. Give us a hit and we'll help you out.
Absolutely.
Did you have a favorite city that you've been to, or a really cool venue that stands out for you?
Mason, what was your favorite city on this last run? I mean, you can count the East Coast tours if you want to, but I feel like we're all very hot off this southern run.
Honestly, I feel like I was pleasantly surprised by Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna hate it, just from what I've heard from people that are from there and have lived there. But it kind of reminded me of like my hometown, which was like a little nostalgic. Like it's just like a little dirty. There's not very many tall buildings. So I felt kind of, and the show there was super great. That venue was super cool.
The 51st Street Speakeasy.
Yeah.
For reference, also Mason's hometown is Waterloo, Iowa.
Yes.
Sorry, Waterloo. Emphasis on the loo.
Yep, Waterloo.
Is what I get told in the van every time I say it.
Yep.
But Oklahoma City rocked. That show was awesome. That venue was cool. They had a Stranger Things art exhibit on the 2nd floor in like this whole speakeasy side of the bar, the one from the name of the bar. I guess we played in the 51st Street part, but then they had this whole speakeasy. That show rocked.
Birmingham was cool. The I was a little apprehensive first about Birmingham, but
just
the
like
turnout,
OKC, I guess, Mason. You're just kind of an apprehensive guy.
I suppose so. Yeah, you got to keep the bar low so that you're pleasantly surprised every time. But I mean the community in Birmingham was super sick. we played at like a it was like a punk flea market, basically.
Yeah, I think that's True Story Brewing. I'm gonna take a look at the tour
Yes.
poster to make sure I have that right. But you talk about community. They have fostered a wonderful community at that bar.
Yep.
They had all these vendors of like all sorts of like art prints or like crystals or weird, sorry, not it's like skulls and like petrified insects. It was awesome. Um, so like they had definitely created a wonderful community around that bar and like those people. As far as other venues, I really loved this show that we did at this all ages space in um uh why am I blanking? Pittsburgh? No.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, was it when we played with Plastic Presidents?
No, not that show. The first one that we did in at like the like old house that they converted into a venue, and our green room was the kitchen in the back, and it was super hot. It's like called the 651, and we played with the book club and with Solios. It was like one of Solios's last shows.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember that one. Yeah, yeah.
That venue was cool, and like there was like a cool group of people that came out, but it was like comically hot. And then like we'd walk outside the venue, and it's just like this old brick house.
Yeah. Honestly, the Chicago venue was super sick.
Oh yeah, the first tour we played
What's the
this place called the Fallout, and it was a DIY place like in the back parking lot of a Mexican restaurant. And there was this gate with like this black burlap over it, so you couldn't see past it, but you walk through this gate, and there was this DIY skate park where like a bunch of punks had just poured some cement around a tree.
Yeah, they made a bowl like
And
around a tree.
yeah, there was a bowl and there were like some ramps, and then there was an old nuclear fallout shelter right next to it that they would throw shows in. And they'd have like these big like garage bay doors that they opened up, and somehow they sold alcohol in there. And apparently they do a lot of raves there, which I could see. It's a super cool spot. We tried to play there again the next year, and they double booked us, which sucked because I was trying to do like a whole like punk skate festival thing, and I had like 6 bands, and then the venue was like, "We can't do the show," and I was like, "Ah, I wanted to like you guys so much."
Yeah.
That sucks, but it sounds like a really cool place.
Yeah.
We have a couple of skate parks out in Jersey and Philly area that have started doing indoor skate parks that have started hosting shows that are really cool. It's a fun place to see a show, and it's great because while you're listening to music, you can also just run up and down the ramps for a little extra exercise.
Yeah, my
Because how
hometown
can you
does
resist?
my hometown does a lot of like shows at this at the skate park. A lot of like metal shows and punk shows. It's super fun.
It's great. It's a great use for the space. I'm
Yeah,
good for the community. It's nice.
definitely.
I've seen it used as a fundraiser too. Owasso put one together. They were looking at closing down the skate park, I believe is what it was, but they need to raise some money for it. So Owasso Underground put together about a half a dozen punk bands, and they raised some money for it to keep it going. So
Yeah, ours it started in my hometown because the skate park we had flooded, and so they were trying to raise money for a new one to be built, and they made it work. And then from then on, it just kind of became a thing.
yeah, I love that DIY effort. Keep shit going and save what you love.
Yep.
You guys
Yeah,
got fun tour stories since you guys were talking about tours?
Oh, that's right.
There's yeah, definitely. We when we were driving to New Orleans,
Oh yeah, we snuck into New Orleans.
it took 14 and a half hours. It was supposed to be an 8-hour drive, but because of the
Yeah.
snow and all of the bridges icing, like we kept getting rerouted, and we were like stopped for like 90 minutes.
It was at least an hour that we were just sitting there waiting for, because they were clearing a bridge so people could cross it, because it like they don't have the infrastructure down there to like clear ice and snow really, so they had to like bring fleets of like plows in from like Arkansas and like surrounding states. And so we were stuck at a bridge for like an hour and a half, and then we finally got over it. All of the bridges into New Orleans were closed, but we had to get across the Mississippi River somehow, and there was one bridge in Baton Rouge that was still open. And so we crossed the Mississippi River in Baton Rouge and then drove like 30 miles an hour for like 4 hours. Like
It was
on pitted, it wasn't like
So-
slippery ice either. It was, the reason we had to drive so slow is because it was like pitted and it had like potholes in it. And so if
it
you
was
drove too
bouncy.
fast, it would be like rumbling super hard. So you had to drive slow to
So
like
the-
not like
The
vibrate
fun
out of it.
part of this story is that I had a giant bottle of 1800 Blanco tequila in
Right.
the van,
Yes.
and that was our little pre-show ritual. But I had also picked up some pickled quail eggs from a gas station in the
Very
south.
good,
'cause
actually.
normally, there's like everything in a gas station has meat, and I don't eat meat, so I like am always SOL in gas stations for like road food. But I saw a jar of like these spicy pickled quail eggs, and I was like, "Ooh, that actually sounds pretty good. Let me see how these do." And they were yummy. But what was even better is so like Sober Joe was our savior driver for this whole excursion. We asked multiple times, like, do you want to switch? Are you getting tired at all? Do you need a break? And he's like, no, honestly, like, I'm going to feel the best if I'm the one at the wheel. Like, I want to be in control of this. And we're like, okay, so you're totally fine if we start drinking. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm good to go. So we start doing shots of tequila and chasing it with the juice from the pickled quail egg jar. It was a treat. And Dante had this baritone ukulele that was tuned to the top 4 strings of a guitar. So like 4 or 5 shots in, he's like,
Let's write a
"Hey,
song."
Eric, can you play that guitar?" And I'm like, "Probably not, but I'm willing to find out." So him and I wrote a song in the van during this drive. We gave him a little soundtrack, and eventually I like just nod off on the bumpy road. I get rocked to sleep, and I get woken up, and it's dark out, and we're stopped, and like the doors open, and everyone's like rushing out. I'm like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Someone's stuck in the snow." I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "We made it to New Orleans, but these people don't know how to drive. We got to go push this car out of the snow." I'm like half asleep, like definitely still buzzed. I'm just like, okay. And this ska van from Minnesota rushes out of this van to push these poor girls out of the snow in their like little Toyota Camry. And we get back in the van. I'm like, right back to nodding off. We continue down the way, and they get stuck again, like 3 blocks down the road.
Like right in front of us.
Yeah. And so then everyone gets out again and pushes them out, and they're like, "Can you just follow us home and make sure we get home safe?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, why not? It's 12:30 in New Orleans. What else are we gonna do?" So we get them home safe, and then the band's like, "Do you want to just like drive around New Orleans and see if like anybody needs help getting their car out of the snow?" And we like thought about it, and then we were like, "No, we want to go to sleep." So we find the Airbnb and get checked in and bring all our stuff in and finally go to bed. And then the next day, like everything's closed. We had to walk like a mile and a half to get coffee at a gas station, and the whole block was there. Like the whole community was
Yeah.
like, "This is the one gas station that's open, so we're all gonna hang out here." Like everyone's getting hot coffee in the morning, everyone's talking, trying to figure out what grocery stores are open. We trudge back to our B&B, and I'm like,
Oh my God.
I want to get a tattoo. And so Dante, Joe, and I are like determined we're gonna get tattoos. And I ended up having to call like 9 or 10 tattoo shops to find a place that would be open. And like I call one, and this guy's like, I'm in Florida right now. Isn't there like a ton of snow in New Orleans? I'm like, yeah, but like, what else are we gonna do? He's like, yeah, all right, let me call my guys. Let me see if they want to go in. So he hangs up. We're like talking, making our plan for the day. He calls me back in like 3 minutes. He's like, yeah, they're just eating some lunch right now, but they'll be at the shop in like 45 minutes. And I'm like, great. I call one more shop just to be safe, see if there's an art style we like a little more, get a hold of them. And this guy just chews me out. He was like, you're not from around here, are you? I'm like, no, I'm from Minnesota. And he's like, well, let me tell you, nothing's going to be open. New Orleans never gets this much snow. No tattoo shop's going to be open. No restaurant's going to be open. You guys aren't going to be able to do anything in this city when there's this much snow out. And I was just like, okay, and hung up. I should have told him, like, I mean, we just talked to a shop that said that they would give us tattoos, so we went, met the guys. They were super nice. The one of the guys had just made some gumbo the night before, and he was like, do you guys mind if I like heat up some gumbo, and like you guys can definitely have some? I just made it and it's gonna go to waste if nobody eats it. And so we're like, sure. So we call up everyone who didn't go to get tattoos, and we just had to find some rice. He was like, I got the gumbo here, but we don't have any rice. So we like walked to a grocery store. Everything, all the shelves were empty. Like people are full on doomsday prepping. We had to go to a Mexican restaurant, I think, to just like get some side orders of rice to bring back. And then we had gumbo in this tattoo shop. Well, yeah, it was a time. That was my favorite story from this last run.
Yeah, that's gotta top it, I think. The whole New Orleans, just like it was the best time, I think. And yeah, I mean we went to Bourbon Street, and it was literally like any other time of the year, this place would be like popping, and it was just like dead. You could get into any bar in any restaurant, like there's like no lines.
There were dozens of people on the street.
Yeah.
Compared to like Mason sent a photo of Bourbon Street on Super Bowl Sunday, and it was like wall to wall people, like thousands, just like crowding those bars and those streets. But yeah, there were dozens of people. Like, there are definitely some drunk people like sliding around on their back on the ice, which was hilarious. Because they had never seen stuff like this.
Yeah.
That was a fun night.
I'm actually working with a guy from New Orleans who was sending me a bunch of photos from his friends and family and stuff like that. And it was insane how much snow was down there.
Yep.
For a place that might get a half an inch a year.
Yeah, there was the most snow in 130 years.
Yeah.
Also more snow than Minnesota, or at least Minneapolis has got so far this year.
I think we're close now. We did just have that snowstorm.
Yeah, and it's about to snow again tomorrow.
Yeah,
so
we might beat New Orleans by the end of the season.
There's still hope for us. I love the snow personally. I think it's great.
I do too.
So what kind of tattoo did you get anyways?
I got a snowman mixed with a voodoo doll. It seemed very
voodoo
fitting.
Snowman.
That's perfect.
Yeah, right on my ankle. I don't think that I mean, doing visual bits on an audio podcast always goes super well. Nope, my leg does not go up that high while I'm sitting. Okay. There's pictures on Instagram. You can find it.
So is this time for categories, Janice?
I believe it might be.
You gotta ask them if they like games first. That's the new thing.
Hate
Oh,
games.
okay. Do you like?
We
Who said
love
it?
games.
What did
Shut
you
up,
say
Mason.
no, Jeff?
Somebody
You
said
brought
hey.
a game on the tour.
That's true, I did. Yeah.
Mason, you're dismissed.
All right.
I can.
So we like to play a little game that we call categories. I have a deck of cards with random questions, and I just pull a couple, and we kind of create an interview from there.
Let's do it.
So the first question is, how did your band get its name?
Literally nothing. I was just brainstorming. There were a few other names. I'm very much of the belief that you shouldn't name your band something that already exists. Like, it's so frustrating to like try and look up a small band on Spotify, and there's like 5 bands with the same name. It's like, really, none of you guys did research. So the first name was called Rocket Surgery. Second band name was Sunday Driver. I feel like there was a third one, but I don't remember. And then like I was just had the thought walking home from school one day, like Runaway Ricochet. Yeah, that sounds good.
It's better than the other two, for sure.
Yeah.
Love it.
It has a nice ring to it. All right.
Good ring.
I mean, okay. The next one is the craziest. What's the craziest place you've ever woken up?
That's my favorite question ever.
Mason, let me hear it. Is it the house in Cincinnati?
I mean, that's definitely up there. Yeah, that place was wild. The craziest place I've ever woken up. You know what? I will go with Cincinnati. I was scared going in and scared going out. That's in Cincinnati.
What was going on in Cincinnati?
We stayed with a dear friend of mine from high school who like ran into a poor living situation, and like it's just a really bad roommate, and didn't necessarily disclose that information. But they had a like hoarder roommate who had just moved out, and I guess their room was just like all of their stuff piled into the center of the room, and there was like a whole mound of it, and their dogs weren't like, outdoor potty trained, so they just pissed all over the house. And they had also just had fleas like a week and a half or 2 weeks before we stayed there, and didn't disclose that. And it's just there were smells on all of our clothes that we had to wash out after we left, and like all of our bags kind of reeked. And the animals were very nice, and they would come to greet you. Didn't one of the dogs pee like a foot from Sam's head in the middle of the night? Or no, the cat threw up. The cat threw up.
Oh, that was it. Yeah.
Oh man,
God, that's traumatic.
Janice,
Yeah.
that's worse than the Days Inn across from Circle Drive-In.
Yeah, that
I don't know
it's
You can get worse than roaches, though. I draw the line at roaches. That's
True.
I do pest control for my apartment company. I've interacted with roaches and bed bugs quite a bit, so like I've kind of like become used to that, where that's not that gross anymore to me. But it's this smell is what really did it in for me at that house.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, I think that's the worst
Oh my
tour
gosh,
house.
next question.
Okay. All right. The next question is, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I feel like flight is like a pretty easy cop out. It would be cool to be able to just fly around and see things. But like, honestly, any like super big superpower would kind of turn your life into a nightmare if you weren't good about hiding it, because I feel like the government would want to get involved and do tests on you. So like, I just want insects to like not bite me. I'm so sick of like mosquito bites, and they love me. Like, I will come back from a weekend of camping with like 60 mosquito bites, and I wish that like they would just die if they touched my skin. I think that'd be real cool.
I feel like
Jason.
I feel like the ability to okay, so with the caveat of me still being able to interact, like if I could stop time, that'd be sick, so that I could just like catch up on a bunch of random stuff, or like have time to practice or like
that's a good one.
do like anything, like get stuff done without having to like like have like a time turner so I can like go back in time kind of thing too, like so I could be in multiple places at once kind of thing. I don't know.
It's such a musician answer to be like, I wish I could stop time so I could practice my instrument more.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like with the caveat, like, because I'm under the impression that if I were to stop time, like I wouldn't be able to interact with anything, right? Because it like literally wouldn't be like stopping time is like
Everything
stopping
else would be
motion.
frozen.
Yeah. So if I can still like maneuver stuff
Wouldn't your
around me,
QuickBooks
then
be
like
frozen? I think your QuickBooks would be frozen too.
QuickBooks would be frozen. Yeah, I'd have to do that in real time. Oh, I didn't even think about that. I wouldn't be able to use like any type of like any screen. Huh. Well, practicing, I guess, is what I would do when I stop time then.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. What was the first concert you ever went to?
Do you have one handy, Mason?
I think
My first concert ever was Van Halen.
Just Van Halen, or was there an opener?
I was thinking the same thing. Like,
Is there an opener?
there had to be, right?
Yeah, I think it was like some kind of like regional small group. But it was um with David Lee Roth post who's the other guy? I can't remember his name. I don't know. Yeah, it was Van Halen. It was good. And the rest of the tour was canceled like 2 stops after that because he does heroin still, I guess. So
How old were you when you saw it?
I was probably 12, 11 or 12,
And how old are you now?
32.
So 20 years ago.
Yep,
Yeesh, you're getting up there, Mason.
that's right. I just turned
He's
I
so
just
young.
turned
I
32.
want to be 32 again.
Right.
Yeah, I was also like 11 or 12, and I saw Foo Fighters with Rise Against opening. I was really mainly there for Rise Against. I mean, the Foo Fighters are fine, but Rise Against was my first love. So, and there was there was like a third opening band that had to drop off the tour, so Rise Against played an extra long set, which I was stoked about. And then Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl swears like a sailor, and so like probably like 30 minutes into their set, my dad and I were just like kind of uncomfortable because we didn't have like my household was very anti like cuss words, like very clean cut. And even though like, you know, I'm sure that my dad growing up like swore all the time or like and like, you know, swore not around his children, it was just kind of like a taboo. And so we ended up leaving like 30 minutes into the Foo Fighters set, which like looking back is so dumb. But what do you do?
Regrets.
All right. Okay, one more. We'll do one more. If you could collaborate with any artist, living or dead, who would it be?
That's so funny you asked that because if you didn't pull that, I was going to be like, I got
You're
one.
gonna.
I always want to know that answer.
Mine would be RX Bandits. They're the goats. Like I love every member of that band. Well, I guess honestly, like ironically, the bass playing I could take or leave, but the guitar playing and the drumming and the vocals and like songwriting is phenomenal. So
If you played bass with them, then it'd be perfect, right?
yeah, right. So
God, it's better than perfect, but you know.
yeah, Matt Embry hit me up or Steve Choi, one of them. Yeah,
We interviewed Rich Goodwin, who used to play for RX Bandits.
oh yeah,
Now he's with the Goodwin Club, and the Hippos maybe making a comeback. I don't know. Look out for that.
will do. Yeah, I would love to do like a wave breaker, a split of some sort with them. That would
Okay, cool.
be like dream come true. Mason, who do you wanna play with or for?
I don't know. Maybe I mean a few years ago it probably would have been Wolfpack before they like really like blasted off.
They're too big
I
for
would,
you now.
yeah, they're too big. They would never collaborate with someone like me.
I don't know. Your studio might pop off. You could come get them to do a live in studio on their way through Minneapolis.
That'd be fun. Yeah, Wolfpack's super cool. I mean, I was really big into the Dip for a while. It's like kind of like a R&B soul group from Seattle. Um, yeah, probably one of the like a horn band, probably, obviously.
Very cool. I don't know who any of those people are, but I'll have to look them up.
Yeah, it's like it's like funk and soul and R&B kind of vibes.
Fun fact. Well, I guess now that Dante joined the band, it's not true, but like nobody else in the band listens to ska music besides me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but Dante is now my partner in crime when it comes to putting ska music on from time to time in the van and like talking about the scene. But everyone else likes it and like Streetlight, but other than that, is not really like checking out what's coming out as much.
Interesting.
So Street Lights, your guys' common denominator.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Which is rough because like half of the community is like Streetlight's not ska.
Have either of you ever seen Catch 22? I'm just curious.
Never seen them live, but I've definitely like listened to their music both pre and post Thomas.
Make that a bucket list because it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, would love that.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions that we had. I did want to chime in real quick though, in regards to Esker Grove. Craigslist has a misconnections section in it. So if you're ever just kind of bored one night and you really want to go down that rabbit hole, it's always an option.
That is an interesting idea. I don't know how many people still use Craigslist, but maybe.
There's a radio station that pulls stuff out of there all the time, and the crap that people put in there is wow.
Yeah.
Anyways, where can we find you guys' stuff? I know you've got some stuff on YouTube, Spotify, right? Where else can we get your music and your videos?
We're everywhere. Coming to a toothbrush near you. Yeah, skapunkinternational.com is where you can buy our record. We're also on Bandcamp, Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, all that stuff, YouTube. We got some music videos. There's probably some live videos floating around from various tours. There's a really cool new like music platform called Ampwall. That's kind of like Bandcamp, except it was made by musicians and they're not going to shell out to some larger corporation. So we're on that. We play shows. You can come see us, talk to us. That's where you can get a t-shirt. Maybe we'll get back into selling shirts and stuff online, but right now, if you want any of the merch, you got to come see us in person.
Are we on Blue Sky?
Yeah, we're on Blue Sky, Instagram. Nice. I'm gonna delete the X. Fuck that place. But yeah, come talk to us on Blue Sky.
Or better yet, live in person at a show where you can buy a t-shirt.
Live in person at a show. We like to send a message at the end of every episode, and that is to have a scene. You really need to be part of the scene. You need to show up for the shows, buy the merch, support the artists, the venues, especially the local venues, the independent venues, not so much the Ticketmaster venues, Do the thing, get out there, have a good time, like make friends with your ska community. It's one big family, accepting of everybody, which is the best, and just go out and be the scene. If you want to have a scene, you got to be the scene.
Absolutely.
So if you like this episode or any of our episodes, make sure to like and subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, follow us on Instagram, Blue Sky. Like they said, we're not on X. We've never been on X.
Good.
We're newer, so we knew not to go on X. Skagazine's newer. We're not new. We're old as fuck. We're on all the other
story.
Yes.
We're on all the other places. So it's been real. I appreciate you guys coming on, and I hope to see you live soon.
I hope to see you live soon.
I won't be live, but you'll be live.
anxiety. It's not that complicated. I'm fixated on my worth, a penny buried in the dirt. It's just a fabrication. My heart's been rocking, I should. So from the times that I've been up, trust is fickle when it breaks. You can't just patch it up with tape after you've instigate. So can I trust myself in this mental state? I break promises in haste to intoxicate. Instead of running mental marathons where every thought's a cataclysmic outcome, our solution spoken in a foreign tongue, I overstimulate into a drug. I'm always running mental marathons where I'm the only thing that I'm running from. Every opportunity could load the gun to stop the race or kill my sobriety. Thank you, anxiety.